What if you could hold your hand out and just summon all of the Wonder Kids into it? That's the Wonder Kid summoning technique. Well, there's a new feature in Football Manager 26 that allows you to do just that. It's not some sort of game-breaking thing, either an immersion-breaking thing. It's actually a more realistic feature in the game than what I used to do previously scouting in Football Manager. It took me a little longer than usual to get my teeth into Football Manager this year and how it worked because of how big of a change it was with the game. But things are finally rolling with my stream save, which you can catch on Twitch and on the Zealand Live YouTube channel. And there's this new feature that I knew existed, but I had no idea how effective it could be for your player recruitment, no matter your financial situation. I figured it was something that you used when you were in a great financial position. And it's if you go to recruitment, which, you know, then you're inundated, overwhelmed with data, and you down into the bottom right corner, you find transfer room in. There's also transfer room out. I don't find this feature to be 1,000th as useful, but it allows you to go through a whole list of clubs and their posted player needs and offer your players up. This is a realistic thing that happens in real life. And the thing in the bottom right here is the transfer room in requirements section. Now, transfer room has partnered with Football Manager over the last couple of years. It's this website that a ton of clubs around the world use to facilitate transfers and loans. And the way it works essentially, when you scroll on down to the bottom after you get rid of cookies. Get the hell out of here, cookies! Unless they're like actually cookies, in which case I probably want one. But you can track opportunities, understand player criteria, promote your players to more clubs, and save time to make better choices. Get alerts on new opportunities, direct access to decision makers, see how the market is moving. They even have sections for different members of the club. You schedule an intro chat and you end up signed up to Transfer Room. It is bespoke.
He said the word.
Bespoke transfer organization tool used by a lot of real world clubs. So that's been brought into Football Manager. As much as the game is kind of unfinished and has issues, it is good the way they've integrated that part of the real Football Manager universe into the game itself. That being said, because the UI is at best a little overwhelming and at worst painful, right? You don't really notice this little button. It's not even presented at the top here. You have to click the more to see transfer room in and transfer room out, and you don't even necessarily know what that stuff does in the first place. So if you click transfer room, I just started testing it for the first time this last transfer window that I was playing on stream, and it is unbelievable. So just as a test, I decided to create a few transfer requirements. Yes, I'd love a striker. I would like a star player, transfer or loan. Somebody that would be a star player for me. I'm also going to create another requirement that is important player. I just want to see what the difference is. I'm also going to create a requirement that is right wing back and important player, transfer alone, create requirement, center back, important player. Role in possession is wide center back. And then a first choice capable goalkeeper for transfer alone. This was on the recommendation of somebody in the chat to actually use this. Again, I knew it existed, just had never used it. I was handed a list of players almost immediately that could potentially be signed for me. Now, because I'm working with a transfer budget of $0 essentially, I should have, in hindsight, set it for loan only. Me being greedy, I was kind of hoping the transfers would also be free transfers, but the point is I came in here and looked at 3 guys that were available for loan. Not only did I not know any of these players existed or have any available data about these players at all, because my scouting range is only Spain in this save. Should also be North Africa because my club's based on the north coast of Africa, but whatever. These players are presented to me fully scouted. If you go into the transfer room and click and then go into Lucien Menger, I can hover over the eye next to his name and I see a full complement of attributes, including a full scouting report to see if he's adaptable, to see if he is consistent, to see if he likes big matches, which of course at 18 years old, I believe is not something that's available to me. He has a competitive streak though. And of course, ever important in Spain and everywhere else except for Germany, I guess, is does this player fit your registration? Right? Because he's in Germany, he's in the EU, so I can do a little math, and even though I went to American public school, I can figure out that Germany is in the EU, and he's gonna be qualified for Spain just fine. But it gets really complicated in a lot of different places, and that scouting report can be very, very useful when it comes to knowing whether a player is going to count for this registration or not, or that registration or not. And this tool is able to provide you with that information almost immediately. It's not immediate. You do have to leave them on this list for a little while. while. Like if I go through this list, I should find players that have not been fully scouted yet. But if you have the list up for a couple of weeks, all of these players that are coming in and being recommended are going to be scouted up. And there's more players that are going to be coming in. And once I realized this was working, I basically instantly found the new starting striker for my team that I was ready to loan in on deadline day. Well then, sir. I mean, what do you want? Hard to beat that. It is hard to beat that, dog. It takes $65,000 a year for him to be a regular starter. That's an amazing deal. Adi Ademi is in. Or Adi Ademi, an 18-year-old German new-gen player. Explosive, aggressive, dangerous when he gets in the channels. He's going to be moving out. The wingers are going to be moving in. It's going to be chaos for the back line to follow. But those clips in the stream are me just unearthing the potential functionality of this unbelievable and realistic scouting tool that just changes the way players are acquired. Because I spent the vast majority of that transfer window scouring every possible free player that I could look for. I am not joking. Here is a time lapse of me going through every single African national team and looking for players that are not on a contract so that I could give them a trial. Because all of those national teams, or almost all of those national teams, don't count as non-EU in the registration for one reason or another. I also then went through every Turkic nation, which are also exempt from the non-EU rules in Spain, and looked for free players. I love this. I'm a sicko. I find it incredibly entertaining. But that type of manual scouting obviously is basically like dropping sticks of dynamite into a pool and then hoping an actually big fish floats to the surface instead of a bunch of tiny bluegill. It also obviously, that, in that metaphor, is incredibly harmful for the environment. Where this tool is a precision strike. You're up in a helicopter with a sniper rifle picking out the biggest fish in the lake. Though I feel like the sniper rifle is overkill and the metaphor is hanging on by a thread. And just to expand upon this terrible metaphor, you can get multiple sniper rifles and multiple fish. There is no limit to the number of ads that you can post here. If I wanted to, I could create an ad for every single position on this map and every single role, and have a constantly updating Rolodex, star players or important players at every single position that would be available to me. The only thing that's not in this functionality is the looking for free players. The reason is because of the adherence to realism. The reason they're appearing on this list for me is because the other clubs are going through the transfer room out section, finding my listing, and recommending their players. So free players obviously are not going to have their subscription to the transfer room app in order to recommend themselves. So for sickos like me, scrolling the African national teams looking for free players is still a viable strategy. But even if you're broke with $0, you can still search specifically for loan players. And obviously with this playing time thing, you can use this to round out your team with backups, and more importantly, use it to isolate players that would be comfortable playing as a backup. Because one of the most frustrating situations you can be in is trying to find players on loan or transfer that you're desperate for incredible amounts of playing time that you don't have to offer. Now, I would be wary. I have, in my experimentation, discovered that if you put it at star player, you are going to typically get a lot of younger players that have the potential to be a star player, but they're not necessarily there yet. But typically, if you lower it a little bit to, important player, you're going to get more players that are not as potential based, and your logic can help steer you through that. While I initially thought this wasn't a good thing, it's actually what makes this tool so unbelievably overpowered. Remember the way I started the video, summoning wonder kids with your hand out? Well, if you were looking for star players and clubs are only going to recommend players that could potentially reach that point, you're going to be recommended players that can be wonder kids for you 100% of the time. It's a wonderkid-finding tool on accident. You just put this up, and let's assume that you're not UD Malia as I am in my save. You have some money to actually go sign some players. You could open this up and then find somebody like Peter Like and scout them, wait for the scouting report to come in, and all of a sudden know that you've got a wonder kid on your hands. And they're brought to you. You don't have to do anything. Now, it is worth mentioning, I do not know how this sort of thing functions if you're Real Madrid or Barcelona, or if you've managed a club long enough to get to that point, right? But what I do know is that this can help you get to that point very quickly, because it is predicated on some sort of in-game UI of the teams wanting to offer you those players, and sometimes you're going to have to go steal those Wonder Kids from other teams. They're not necessarily going to offer them to you. But just in the loans category alone, this tool is going to consistently present you with a wide selection of options to fill any of the spots on your team. And the fact that you can, for example, set it to wingback, in possession, defensive on the right, out of possession, which is a very specific type of player that I look for in my system, and then search for if you want a role in possession and a role out of possession that allows you to narrow it down even further. I'm not getting that greedy yet. Once you develop a system you like to play for, you can constantly be searching and receiving offers from other clubs to have their players that fit that specific system. Short-term saves, long-term saves, there is a use case for every single one of them in your transfer room in section. And one thing is for sure, my new starting striker, Eddie Ademi, who, by the way, dropped a 7.5 in his first match in the Spanish second division. He's the first. He's not the last. So use this new tool carefully to craft your team, and I will see you on stream.